Good afternoon. I would like to take this time to say welcome to the Liberian View. My name is Lucy Wilson Kier, and I welcome you again. Today's discussion, we're going to build on the momentum of the 2025 Liberia Diaspora Conference, annual conference that was organized by the Liberian president or in his government. And actually, the aim of the conference was to foster dialogue on national healing, reconciliation, and sustainable development. Today's discussion will focus on strengthening that discussion, strengthening the diaspora engagement for national healing also and development. We will assess how effectively the recent conference addressed reconciliation, investment, healthcare, and education. For today's discussion, I have with me our esteemed speaker, our own Dr. George Williams, and others that will join later on. Okay, before we begin the discussion, I will give Dr. Williams, the opportunity to take 3 minutes and to provide an introductory statement because he was part of one of the section and he participated well. And we're giving the opportunity to give us an introductory statement. And afterwards, we'll make sure that he will make sure to give us a little general overview on the conference itself. Actually, today what we want to do is to assess. Our focus today is to evaluate how well the conference will address these, like for example, reconciliation, how the conference address investment, healthcare, especially education. I think Dr. Williams took part in that. So this first series of this discussion, we really want to just give you an assessment of the conference itself and see where the gaps were, where the various sessions that were provided as to how do we see it. Okay, so I will give our speaker, especially on this entire series, Dr. Williams, the opportunity to give us an introductory statement. Dr. Williams, the floor is yours.
So, thank you so much, Lucy. It's great to join you and your audience. I'm humbled by the invitation and happy to be here to discuss the what you call our reflection on the Diaspora conference held recently. Uh, I was honored to participate in a national undertaking of that nature, and so I am happy to share my impressions and opinions about a few things that may have been observed, but also on what I consider the successes of this initial exercise. Um, I'm Dr. George Williams, and my name tag shows, I am the Director for Global Programs and Policy at Educational Development Innovations. Is the Liberian-run, Liberian-driven nonprofit that's registered here in Virginia. Part of our role is to advance educational development in Liberia through capacity building, policy dialogues, and a series of various interventions. Quite recently, in July, as the banner on top of me shows, that we were able to gather Liberian educators across continental USA and from Liberia to look at public education and our efforts to strengthen public education in Liberia. And it will surprise you that Liberians sat for 7 hours online, 7 hours to discuss how public education could be improved. And so a report is on our website. And so we're happy to have been invited to participate in the Diaspora Conference. And we're happy to be able to provide our perspectives of what our experiences were.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Williams. Is it, can you please give us your general overview, especially when it comes to the various, the structure as to how it was formulated? Because I know that letters were written to various organizations. I want to talk about the diaspora because I think this whole conference, from my perspective, I'm not speaking for EULA. I'm speaking for the Liberian view. From my perspective, I think the government maybe I think send letters to maybe the other like IFLA, the European Union, and EULA as our Union of Librarian Association, which is the umbrella organization for all the Union Librarian Association within each chapter. And I think professional organization as yours also will also I think reach out or reach out in the form of letter. I don't know, but how do you look at the structure? What I mean, I know this one or the other it was the first of its kind. I know that if I'm not mistaken, 2019, the same LCA. By then, I was president. We were not 20, maybe before 2019. We hosted the All Liberian Diaspora Conference, and EULA was involved, but other organizations like IFLA and everyone came together as the diaspora. We invited the government, and the government was the embassy. The embassy represents the government of Liberia in the United States or in any other country. And other organization, county organization, religious
Yeah.
organization were also engaged. But I don't know what I don't know. I think you attended that conference at that time, or either you did not attend, but you read about that conference. How can you compare this to the recent conference?
So I'm not quite aware of the diaspora driven initiative that you're speaking to. I probably wasn't even in the country at the time. But here's what I will say about this most recent undertaking. I think all Liberians need to appreciate that the government made an effort to reach out to facilitate and drive a process of getting diasporans engaged and involved in national decision making and by extension national development. And I think one of the challenges especially our government will have is the proliferation of Liberian groups across the country. Within EULA, there are divisions. Within our county associations, there are divisions. And so maybe it's easier to bring Liberians together in Liberia rather than in the diaspora, just because there is the level of polarization within and amongst the groups is challenging. And so I would give pardon to Dr. Dunn and his team for the efforts they made in bringing Liberians together. I think they did a fantastic job just within the short time frame to bring people together. I heard complaints about why not Minnesota, where most Liberian per state is situated, but compare Minnesota to the entire East Coast. The population in the entire East Coast outweigh the number of people in Minnesota, and so that kind of muted that argument. There were also about people not being directly communicated to. Again, we're over 500,000 Liberians. At least statistically, that's the number we hear, or projections we hear. And under no circumstance will all 500,000 be reached effectively. They will have to be communicated to through a variety of networks. And if you're not part of a network and you prefer to operate in isolation and in silos, it makes reaching out to you a little difficult. And so, some say, oh, it's an apologist position. I am one of optimism. We've never had a situation where the government have committed itself to a process such as this, and not just make pronouncement, but showed up. It wasn't just the president. You had the pro temp and several other government officials present, including the Minister of Education, with whom, in our own instance, we tried to reach out to. Even by going to Liberia, we didn't get a chance to meet her. All right, and so to have had those people show up for this exercise to tell Liberians, hey, this is where we are. What can we do beyond this point? These are some of the challenges we're having. From an educator standpoint, I think we're putting the cart before the horse. That is my observation of it. I think we're dealing with the minors, like they say, we're dealing with the minors and forgetting the majors. There are major issues affecting education. All right, yeah, teacher training, facilities and infrastructure, salaries and payments, but not much has been said about the educational vision, which should be the foundation of our engagement in the process. How do we think through what we're doing? We cannot operate in silos. So we need a platform where a holistic vision is constructed, co-created by those in power in administration and those outside of administration. Bring the thoughts together. And if we have to do them over time, which interestingly, this conference is supposed to be that initiation of the process, it can be done over time. Anyone who went to this conference believing that the fixes would have been made there and then for the 3, 4 days or 5 days that Liberians gather was delusional. We have to be realistic. The problems of Liberia cannot be solved in a 1-week conference or a 2-week conference. It comes with time. And a lot of the solutions we're going to proffer have to be tested, reviewed, revised, and then redeployed to ensure that the right results come true. And so I think it was a great initial process. It was not without flaws. Yes, there were flaws in there, but it was a great initial process. And between the flaws and the successes, I will put the successes first. And let me welcome my childhood friend, Dr. Law.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much because I really agree with you. If you look at the fragmentations of various divisions within the diaspora, it's a challenge to really bring the diaspora together. So I agree that this was a good initiative on the part of the Boakai administration, President Boakai administration, to have spearheaded this particular conference. And in so doing, I think they were able to bring Australian Liberian Association president, the Canada Association president, the AFLA president, and I think other association and other, I think even the doctors, medical association president, because we're able to interview individuals with their own group and their specialty that were present during this conference. I think it was a great effort because for the Union of Liberian Association to gather Liberians within the United States, I think it's a major challenge for now. It is due to the divisiveness and whatnot. Having said that, I would like to welcome Reverend Dr. Lloyd, and we were just talking first in the statement of introduction. We talked about, and then Reverend Dr. Williams were kind enough to share with those who are listening now and those who will listen later regarding comparing, especially first she gave us a general overview of the 2025 annual Diaspora Conference, and then also we try to compare the 2019 All Liberian Diaspora Conference that was held here when I was president for this LCA, whereas AFLA was a member or partner, EULA was spearheading it, and we have other Liberian other organization within the United States also were present, and that conference was held. And also, I stated that we had that conference. The Liberian government was represented by the Liberian ambassador at that time, and other former ambassadors were also present. And I was trying to see how can we compare that to what was on it on during the Liberian annual conference. And so that's the discussion. And um, Dr. George was giving us his fair analysis and perspective. So currently the floor is yours. You can first briefly just give us your introductory statement and briefly a general overview, and then you can compare and contrast if you do remember the conference of 2019 and the conference of 2025. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Is my audio okay?
Yeah, we hearing. I mean, it's okay, and but with some sort of low noise at the background.
Oh, you're having some feedback. I thought it was coming from my end. Okay. I just want to, first of all, apologize for coming in a little bit late. You know, as a clergyman, usually there are unexpected duties. But I'm happy to be on this show tonight and discussion. And also for those who are on, just want to say greetings to you all, Dr. George, and I cannot see everyone else who's on because I can see the studio, but just want to greet you all and just want to say I'm happy to be part of this very important discussion regarding the Liberian diaspora engagement, an attempt to engage the diaspora through the All Liberian Diaspora Conference that was held recently. Given the fact that this has been an aspiration of the Liberian diaspora, especially the Liberian View itself, because we, Liberian View, attempted to host a similar conference, and we went ahead and drew the blueprint for a Liberian diaspora conference, and it is still it was in the works before the Liberian government went ahead and took upon this initiative. But the Liberian View had considered this to be a major project because we have realized that it has been one of major concern and something that we in the diaspora and those back home we're looking out for. This is the first time that the Liberian government have been fully engaged in such an initiative. In the past, you have partial engagement, but this was a full engagement. So we just want to commend that. And as Liberians moving forward, although there are rooms for criticism and corrections, because nothing is perfect, and we basically consider this to be a work in progress. But the Liberian Diaspora Conference in itself was an attempt to engage the diaspora. The Liberian government came in and proposed or tried to disseminate information concerning their objective and some of the plans that the government have designed that will foster diaspora engagement on the grounds and also probably in the diaspora itself. And so we basically attended the conference, supported as much as possible, but also we were very observant of what transpired at the conference, and we observed with the notion to come back and provide feedback, positive feedback for improvement as we move forward. The conference itself, yield. It brought, the one positive thing is brought Liberians together from all walks of life and all stations of the diaspora, which was good. And also, we managed to be to engage the current administration. And also, it's the first time that we are seeing a government of Liberia put out a comprehensive plan for development and diaspora engagement. So and let they commend that, although there are a lot of other, improvement that can be made. But I just want to state here, and as I listen to Dr. George, I also concur with the fact that the conference itself should have been preceded by certain activities, right? If you want to engage a diaspora that is very broad, and then when it comes to location, there are certain things that should have been done prior to the conference. And one, I think, was should have been a feasibility study to be able to engage the diaspora and be able to explore the needs of the diaspora, the potential of the diaspora, and possible possible areas of collaboration. Those are the things that should have been done first, and that engagement should involve all sector of the diaspora, not excluding any other sector. So having representative for every sector of the diaspora coming in to contribute their part to the organization of such a forum, and then being able to outline the intended objective and result and expected result and findings from a conference like this. And so those are things that can happen in the future as we move forward. But if we want a comprehensive diaspora engagement, there are certain things that has to be done, and every sector of the diaspora must be involved. The effort should be non-political, and there shouldn't be any partisan aggrandizement in the process of the organization, whether someone is from another party or another political persuasion or opposition, and everyone else should be brought in because it's something that deals with the future of the country and also the development of our nation. And the diaspora holds a very crucial position in the development of Liberia as we go into the future, because the diaspora have the human capital that Liberia needs, especially professional human capital that Liberia need for development. And the diaspora need to tap upon that. They have the experience. The diaspora has the financial potential, and to be able to support and foster major developmental projects in Liberia. So therefore, engaging the diaspora basically it should be a very comprehensive, very broad, and very and highly inclusive. But overall, the conference, I know, was a very positive attempt for this engagement, and that we hope that in the future, the government of Liberia will try to get the diaspora more involved in the organization of such a forum, so that we will be able to yield the expected result. And also the Liberian government, what they can do also for future conferences, be able to engage the diaspora to see what kind of domestic policy or the domestic policy design that they have, how is it compatible with diaspora and initiatives? Is it compatible to the needs of the diaspora? So it's very important because the policy that deals with import, export, business organization, and economic engagement, all those things are important to be able to study very comprehensive and professionally coming up with real world statistics to be able to actually approach these various crucial areas. So I will stop there, but the conference in general is a positive attempt. I just want to turn it in that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Prior to really the Liberian View coming together to say, okay, let's have this discussion. Some people, people are asking, like, some of the question was like this, and I would really like for us, for this body, right, this platform, to address it. An attempt for an organization, the diaspora, I think the Liberian diaspora being the oldest if I may say, oldest. So I think we were formed in the 70s or the 60s when people were coming here. So do you think when we say this is an attempt, I think someone was saying that an attempt can be made if there were no lot of professional Liberian diasporans within the diaspora. But each government, the president is a current president, was a vice president before, was working. He had because I know when we're in ISEC, he was one of our corporate partners when we were in LU, and then he became I think he had major positions. Later on, he became vice president, and then he became president. So he's aware of the diaspora. Now, and someone was talking about the structure, and then I did ask a question: how was the structure of representation when it comes to the diaspora? How was that established? And then next thing I heard, we will form a commission. But I see we have the diaspora office that is headed by one Erasmus. And what I know is this, that I know that there was, like, for instance, we had various sections. We had the reconciliation, breakout section, the economics, we had investment, we had education, and we had professional Liberians with different skill set that were there. I don't know whether the commission was formed in Liberia, but then all of a sudden another group is formed called to engage in the return to Liberia in December. I mean, do you think that kind of structure should be formed, and with other diaspora, like the Europe, the Americas, coming together and forming a structure, instead of you have one individual selecting during the conference? At the end of the conference, I heard Erasmus coming and saying that, oh, Dr. Kulat, Dr. Kulat, come here now, you will be heading this. So I don't know whether the diaspora as a whole, because if you're leading the diaspora or you are head of the diaspora office, so I don't know whether the structure itself, whether there will be a change if we continue with such a structure, or whether that structure need to be revisited. As we know, the president, he was very active when you're young, from Rex to being who he is today, participating in other organizations within the University of Liberia. To me, he has all the expertise to be able to know that the diaspora is here, living a life with professional individuals. So when such committees are formed, the diaspora themselves, those who live here and are very active, should come together and form that structure. Even though I know that it's difficult for the diaspora to have their own challenges, but the president has the embassy here to form such a group that will be able to bring professional Liberians who have been engaged in the diaspora as a whole to form that kind of committee. Do you think that we need such a structure, or we just need one person saying, okay, Dr. George, you will be heading the educational aspect of it, and you're working with this other person? Should there be a structure, or do we think there's a structure as a whole?
So this is what I would say in response. We as a community, we're more reactive than proactive. We generally sit back, we wait, things happen, we complain, and we go nowhere with those complaints. You just shared with me that under your leadership, the community organized a Liberian Diaspora Conference. I'm not sure what happened after that period to engagement with the diaspora. I'm not sure what happened. What reports were brought out, what recommendations or action plans evolve from that process. Now, it takes time. It takes a lot of time. And I share with you the one-day virtual conference, educators conference we had in July. It took us almost 2 months to come up with the report, And then after the report, where do we go? What actions, next steps are we projected to take? It's about bringing people back together, circulating the report between and amongst those who were present and those who didn't have the opportunity to show up, to see if we can bring together a larger group with a document that we can share and then expand the conversation. And so I'm the way I would respond to the question you put out is, what is the community doing? Rather than waiting to be placed on a committee, what are you doing with the premium from the conference you've just had? What is the community doing? What is Liberian View doing with the information? I mean, you're doing a great job right now, keeping the conversation going. That's marvelous. But what are the other sectors doing? How are they organizing? Are they waiting? Because at the end of the day, there has to be a shift for Liberia to move forward. For too long, those who know, quote unquote, those who know have stayed back and left it to those who were available. And those who, quote unquote, know have continued to complain that it not been done right, and not been done right, and not been done right. Now is an opportunity for all Liberians to step up. Now, I totally agree with you that there is a lot that can be done. As a community, there hasn't so far been anything to map out the diaspora in terms of skills mapping, who the professionals we have. And as I speak to you, it's one of the challenges we're having even at ULIBA, the University of Liberia Alumni Association. We haven't been able to come up with a dossier of who's in ULIBA. What skills do we have? How can we harness those skills to leverage our assistance to the university? We're still struggling. We're still reacting. And what is happening in ULIBA is symptomatic of what is happening in almost all Liberian organizations. We're waiting, we're reactive, we're complaining. There is seemingly a lack of vision. All right? The embassy is there. Yes, the embassy has its part to play. Again, with the number of changes going on in our embassy, I've been here 15 years. I think we've had like 3 or 4 ambassadors. So at no point, every ambassador that comes in with a program, and they're there for a short time. So nothing happens. At the University of Liberia, same thing. Our engagement with the University of Liberia in the last 4 years, we've had at least 4 presidents. So it's a challenge. All these constant changes, we have to begin to program for it. And the way to program is to be proactive. And so here we are. We've come at a national conference. So much has been said. I've heard complaints about no recommendations. Great, no recommendations. But can we generate recommendations? Yes. There are many ways that can be done. There are many ways that can be done. The LCA right now, it was hosted in your backyard. How have you taken it and run with it? And so there are more opportunities than we can complain about. It takes vision, it takes leadership to drive some of these processes. I think this initial process, Reverend Lloyd, was for me. And when I spoke to Reverend Lloyd, these were my sentiments. I think the focus of this initial process was to, and I hope was to develop a framework for engagement. Not necessarily problem solving, a framework for engagement. How do we structure or build an engagement infrastructure that makes it easy for the government to harness the diaspora so that we're not operating in silos? Like you just mentioned, Dr. Kula. Who knows? Erasmus is probably close to Dr. Kula, and so it was easy for him to reach out and say, you know what? They talk about commission, you in charge. That's it. But if we set up, and that approach is a recipe for failure, because already that's going to disenfranchise a lot of others who are interested in providing the leeway in terms of a vision and a framework to help Mr. Williams succeed in his role. And so there's an absence of a holistic framework through which to engage the diaspora. How does the embassy, the government through the embassy, work to bring in the diaspora together under a framework so that if the ambassador needs, say, we need help at JFK, the ambassador can press a couple of buttons and, the health professionals are there. Across the country, there are lots and lots of Liberian professionals at all levels in all the disciplines. But the embassy hasn't positioned itself, again, reactive. The government itself is operating on a knee-jerk operations where, just on the heels of this conference, boop, you appoint a commission. All right? Appoint a commission. Who's comprising this group? Listening to all of the complaints we've heard, you would think it would be more consultative so that people feel a sense of belonging. At the end of the day, the sentiments all around is that a few people are deciding which direction the country goes. And ultimately, it presents itself for failure. But we cannot sit and allow failure to succeed, essentially. We all have to be proactive in what we do, how we do it. And so whether we're absorbed in the process or not, we have to find a way to keep pounding. And so I'm happy that you've offered to keep the conversation going. And that's really important.
Yeah, and before I get to Reverend Lloyd, I know that the Liberian View initiated an All Liberian Diaspora Conference. And we wanted to have like a virtual conference and then go to Liberia and have the real, in-person conference. Because there is no conference that will be held in the United States to have an impact in Liberia without the engagement of the individual professional Liberians that live in Liberia. Because when you talk about professional Liberians, they are not only in the diaspora, they are also in Liberia, So like you said, we can only form a structure if we are united. We have a lot of challenges in the diaspora. Maybe the initiative the president is taking is to maybe bring other professionals together. I don't know. But we are hoping that as we go on with this discussion, people are listening in, people are asking their questions. When we come to talk about recommendation and action items that can formulate a proposal that we intend doing, I'm hoping that others can also reach out to Dr. Williams. They can reach out to Dr. Lloyd or Mr. Felix Wilson or anyone that will be part of the discussion so that we all can formulate a proposal. Because like you stated, we are professionals, but sometimes we don't maybe want to come forward. But I'm hoping that if you're a professional, and if you know that you can lend a helping hand, and after this conference, if we just sit back, the leadership will just bring the people that they can reach, as Dr. George stated rightly, because those are the people that they can reach. And I'm happy that Reverend Lloyd also stated that it shouldn't be political. Because if you're forming such a commission, it should be across Liberians, not just a political party or partisans. So, Reverend Dr. Lloyd would like to have your take on what I stated.
Yeah, Madam Chair, concerning your question in relation to some of the aftermath actions that the Liberian government took after the conference, I just want to state here that, as I said earlier, there are things that could have been done right and should be done right. But usually the intentions and the process of the actions that are taken are very crucial. I say that to say that everyone cannot lead, but everyone can participate, which is very important. And so at this stage now, we all may not have the opportunity to lead the effort, but we all can genuinely participate in this effort. But given the nature of the diaspora, the Liberian government is trying its best to put some structure in place to move this diaspora initiative forward. But my only plea to the Liberian government is to currently make sure that it is broad-based and that you try to make sure that those who are placed in leadership positions to move this initiative forward should be able to be conscientious of the fact that the engagement uh, should be transparent. Not only that, but they should also have the spirit of collaboration. So no matter who is appointed head of the process, once they have the desire to collaborate and they have the strategy to engage so that collaboration can take place, there will be success. But if there's no intention to collaborate, and that when we will have failure. So if, for example, the commission that was formed can be able to put the structure that needed to be in place prior to the conference and begin to engage all of the diaspora groups on a broad level and begin to move forward with a collaborative spirit, things will come back together as we expect it to be. And also, we in this whole process initiative, there should be a sense of sustainability. Okay, what happens after this administration leaves? What happens after the current leader move on and new leaders comes and assume the positions and so forth? Will there be sustainability with will the plans and initiative, the suggestions or whatever structure that is put in place, will it be continuous? These are things that the questions that need to be asked. Because, and that's what I say, it shouldn't be political because we are in a democratic nation. So therefore, there will be one administration today and there'll be another administration tomorrow. But the primary interest and the aspiration of Liberian people should be constant, right? And what the Liberian people need for development should be constant. It's very important. So in all of the diaspora planning, initiative, actions, and so forth, the desire for sustainability should be paramount. So therefore, the structure should be set in place that will ensure sustainability into the future, so that the long range objective will be achieved and as the short term objective is achieved also. So it's very important that we look at this here. So I just want to encourage the new commission to be able to sit very seriously and be very pensive in how they engage this effort. One other thing I want to say is that the Liberian government, given the broadness of the diaspora, the Liberian government can play now as a unifying factor for the diaspora. Why I say that is that the Liberian government can go ahead and organize and put into play very attractive policies, right? That will attract the diaspora to Liberia, that will attract professional engagement in the various sectors of our society. For example, you want to attract educators, professional educators to come in and provide the expertise to for example, the educational system in Liberia. Create a very attractive incentive that will take someone like Dr. Williams to say, okay, I will pack up my things and move to Liberia to be able to contribute. In the health field, you will be able to create a policy and create incentive that doctors here that are earning 200,000 plus a year will pack up the things and say, I'm going to Liberia. And so these are the things that other countries have done. Countries like Israel, countries like Rwanda, they put this policy in place that were very attractive to the professional and the human capital that were in the diaspora, and they were attracted and they went back home to immensely contribute to the development of the nations. So the Liberian government played a very crucial and pivotal position when it comes to attracting the diaspora, getting the diaspora unified. You know that it is an effort that is heckling. That's what I want to say. It's a very tough effort to do it. But the Liberian government can create an incentive that will attract the folks there, and then begin to put policy in place that will absorb them and also be able to help them and encourage them to maintain the same lifestyle, not to the same level, but still be able to have them contribute their quota to the development of the country. The diaspora, the war in Liberia have played a positive part in developing the human capital that Liberia did not have the capacity to develop, but we did not have the educational structure to be able to educate all the Liberians that are educated in the diaspora today. No, you know, I only have one university and two universities, and then you have community colleges here and there. So there were no, the educational system could not produce the level of professionalism that we needed for post-war development. You know, so therefore, the diaspora has developed in a very significant way. Another thing is that how do you attract this the second generation diasporans? I mean, the children of the present those in the present in the diaspora personally. How do you absorb them also so you can have continuity? So when we fade out, that our children will also be there, and they would also develop interest in Liberia to be able to financially and professionally contribute to the nation. So the diaspora effort is a very broad effort, right? And that's why I'm saying, I want to say that the involvement of every organization, every professional organization, also tribal organizational, county organization, high school, all those various organizations should be engaged in this process. It's very important that we do that. And then with that, the success that we anticipate will be obvious.
Okay. I know, let's just go back to the conference itself. Okay. The conference, this GONE conference, assessing it, we had breakout sections. And I think, like everyone, every one of you on this, on this particular platform stated that, you know, for the initial stage, this conference was successful. And I think we all agree. However, after, they had, let's look at the various breakout sessions they had. They had investment, and then prior to these breakout sessions, they had various committee. They have IT, media, and they have the assessment evaluation to evaluate the entire conference. And I happen to be part of that evaluation with Dr. Lloyd, with Ms. Yandi Kofa, and Mr. Isaac Kato. We were all on the evaluation and assessment committee, looking at the conference as a whole, getting the perceptions from each various individuals, associations that were there. Part of the fact that we had breakout session, the breakout session had moderators and people that individuals that were selected to give a summary of the leaders within these various breakout section. So all that was done. The conference had evaluation. We were giving out a QR code to get the view of others. So Liberia being one of the oldest country, and we all are aware that a lot of folks from Liberia came for this conference. So to me, it was a good conference in a way. It had its gap. It has its own challenges. But if you look at the fact that we did all this, we had rapporteurs within this particular various section that should have brought the notes together. We were part of the evaluation thing. Someone just asking, the thought process is that when all that was done, should we still go about, forming the structure? Shouldn't it be taken from the attendees, from the subject matter experts, regardless of EULA? Subject matter expert, people in the various skill set are forming their own group. They have the medical association, They have the Engineer Association. People are going in their own. Public health individuals are forming their own association. You might not be aware. Other people are forming their own Liberian professional groups here. So if those professionals that I know some attended, and we had all these breakout sessions, don't you think? I mean, why didn't the committee first look at the various sections recommendations, the leads within those sections, the feedback from the, how you call it, from the evaluation team, putting all that together to read it and come up with a structure of individuals to engage or support the various presidents for the diaspora that attended the meeting, support their effort so that we can form a real, like the president said, commission that will have the capacity and representation for the diaspora? Or is that a work in progress?
I would think, like we've generally said, there was a lot to improve. Without argument, there was a lot to improve. But when we consider what do we consider the challenges in contrast to the successes, I'm more tilted on the end of the successes rather than the failures. And it's a matter of perspective. And I like to keep the positive perspective going, just because this is something the community have yearned for. And on its first footing, some things went wrong. You can even say a lot of things went wrong, but a lot of things were also good. Now, in my instance, our conversation lasted less than 15 minutes. I prepared for 3-4 days, almost sleepless night, presentation, everything. I even had a PowerPoint slide to present. I couldn't, because the setup was such that, one, they had run out of time, especially on the first day, Friday. They'd run out of time with all of the protocol, the president's presence, and all of that. So things had to be rushed. And that's exactly what happens when you have a hastily organized setup arrangement like the one we had. But a lot of great things happened at that conference. The presence of the president at the conference was a positive. It said to all Liberians, or at least should have said to all Liberians, that, hey, yes, we've spoken about this, but here we are, launching this process. You know, I think the organizers, and kudos to Dr. Dunn, but I think they were overly ambitious. Hoping to achieve what they hoped they would in the number of days they had available to them. You know, I think it was overly ambitious. I think, however, that the diaspora has an opportunity. Those groups that are organizing should go ahead and organize. Groups like the LCA and the ULA need to position themselves to spearhead this process and not just wait for government to come in to make it happen. They have the resources, the wherewithal. And I'll say to you, the sacrifice has to be made by whom? Liberians. Not waiting for government to make it happen. We have to make the sacrifice, because ultimately we're the ones having sleepless nights. Government officials go to bed at night. We're the ones, coming out on a Sunday when we should be relaxing. We're talking about Liberia. Why? Because we love this country. We love the country, and so we have to make the sacrifice. I mean, frankly, I've been here 15 years. I've already made the decision. I'm leaving. And every effort to leave is being put in place. So the sacrifice has to come from us. And by sacrifice, I mean we have to let go of the little stuff and look at the bigger picture. And I think the bigger picture here is government has put itself on record. They've said this is going to be an annual event. Besides you right now, and by you I mean Liberian View, keeping this conversation going, how many other Liberian groups do you hear of initiating activities as a result of the Diaspora Conference? Not many. They're waiting. People are waiting to be told. And that's another problem we Liberians have. We wait to be told. We're not proactive, you know? And so there's a lot to be done. Sacrifices have to be made, both by the people at home and the government, but even more so, those of us who are interested in seeing things done differently. The transformation that has to happen in Liberia has to happen with us first. We have to get to the point where the little stuff, we do not suffer the little stuff. There are bigger issues to address. Let's work on the bigger issues, focus on the bigger issues, and engage the government. If within 6 months of this conference, we're not hearing anything about the next sitting of the annual conference, something needs to be done. We need to start to engage the embassy. We need to start to ask questions with the ULAs and all these organizations that consider themselves umbrella organizations. What are they doing? Instead of chasing political parties, what are they doing to make sure that, look, organizing a conference takes more than 3, 4, 5 months. I know, because just the little one we did in July, it wasn't easy. It took me to go into Liberia to get Liberian actors involved. And even there, it didn't happen. I got at most 5 people from Liberia who participated. MCSS, some vision at the Ministry of Education. No deputy minister nor the minister showed up. None. Even when I got the embassy, deputy minister, I spoke to deputy ministers. I couldn't get the minister, even though I got the contact and reached out. It didn't happen. I could have gotten this, you know, but thanks to the ambassador, thanks to the office of the president, we have a great network. So even our guest speaker in the office of the president, you would think that the office of the president, being the keynote speaker, would have brought the Ministry of Education in. No, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So there are challenges. There are challenges. But we're not going to let those challenges supersede our interests for our country. We're going to go beyond that. Like they say, you know, everywhere everybody else got their medicine, we ourselves got our medicine there. So, you know, when they turn aside, our medicine on somewhere around them. So we have to work around the challenges, you know, and not let the challenges stop us from doing what we need to do for Liberia.
I was just to jump to another topic quickly. Someone was just, texting me because the system here on the side that usually people participate is faulty, a little bit faulty. However, someone was just talking about, oh, you know what? The really thing I did like about the conference is that the donors like Echo Bank was present, and they had someone to represent them. I think that was, in the States here, when we have conferences and those who sponsor the conference, like the airline, maybe money grant or something like that used to be present. But for Echo Bank, they had some representation, and they had their table at the back of the whole hotel area there where we had our lunch, or whatever you call it. They were there with their table displaying it, and other people selling cloth. And someone was saying that the fact that UNDP rep was there to even make a statement is a plus. What do you think an institution like EULA should have done? Because someone was saying, oh, did Lucy EULA went there to speak to the people, stuff like that. And I don't know, but engaging those individuals that sponsor this conference, pay for the hotel that we're in, even though to me, we didn't know the budget. We did not see any budget, or any expense. I didn't see it. Maybe someone else in EULA saw it, but these individuals were there. They came. I don't know whether they flew from Liberia to come, or whether those are the reps that are within the United States. But someone was saying that was a very, very good effort by the government to make sure that those individuals that sponsor the conference were there to speak to us. So what's your take on that, Reverend Lord?
Oh, I think what no, I want to add to that. It was a very a positive move. That the Liberian government decided to get international partners to be able to foster this diaspora initiative. And I learned that Echo Bank also they have local sponsors from Liberia, which were Echo Bank. Then you have international sponsors also, which was a very um, a positive move because these donors contributed significantly to the success of the conference and giving them the opportunity to even express and represent themselves at the conference and speak out to the Liberian people. I think it was a positive effort, and because it laid the groundwork for more international and local partners to be a part of this very important initiative. So we cannot work in isolation. So, and also, the Liberian government may not have uh, the economic power, to sustain such a very huge effort. So I think it was a very smart part on the Liberian government to do that, and I hope that there there will be, a high level of accountability and and professional feedback and engagement and continuity with these international partners to give them and to strengthen their confidence to continue to support this effort. That's why positive steps moving forward and should be the hallmark and should be the center of our planning, so that we will be able to encourage other partners to come and be a part and attract other sources of funding so that the diaspora can move forward. So it's very important that this happen. And but as we move forward, we make sure that there be more transparency, accountability, and very fair and succinct reporting, so that those who have did not participate in the past will see the results, be encouraged by them. Those who did not contribute financially in the past will see the results and be encouraged, and then will be moved to participate in the future. So it is a good start, but what happens after is very crucial to sustain and to maintain this level of collaboration that we saw at the conference. Also, to make a comment on the various working groups and the various sections of the conference that were organized, like the subgroups and the discussion groups and so forth. The conference itself was structured well, but the implementation aspect faced barriers because of the protocol. So because of that, I think that before the next conference, I think there should be a pre-conference before that conference where there can be, for example, a strategic planning conference or a strategic planning committee where they will have targeted individuals representing various sectors of the diaspora coming in with the planning process. So it should be called like a strategic planning committee, and then that will set the ground for the actual conference. So therefore, the protocol issue, all the things will be taken care of, and the structure of the conference will come into play, and there will be no interruptions. So it's very important. This is a very important and very difficult process, but it can be worked with and done in a professional manner that the goals and objectives will be achieved.
Thank you so much. I know that next week, Sunday, we will be here with recommendations and action items, and we'll be closing out this series. However, I will turn the platform over to Dr. Williams to give us his feedback on if someone did not attend this conference. And I'm sure everyone have their own explanation based on the perception as to what they would have expected or what should have been the existing process or the existing operation during the entire conference. And they are listening to this just for one closing this particular phase of this particular discussion. What will you think someone should, what will you, from your perspective, and being an educator, what will you want for someone to take away from this existing operation, this overview that we have given based on the conference, as assessing the conference, looking at, even though we know that there were some gaps here and there, what will you think is someone, what will you like for someone to take away from this particular discussion? The floor is yours, Dr. George.
Well, in succinct language, I will say to the listening public that a process of engagement has started. Um, of course, there are going to be challenges, but urge each and every Liberian who's interested in, and everybody should participate in the process, to identify ways they can be a part of the process, not to be left out. Um, I think even more so, those organizations that lead our people need to be more proactive in leveraging this initial process for the betterment of our people, our country. Liberia is all we have. We're traveling through this land as immigrants, and even though many of us have citizenships and residency certificates, eventually the intent is to transition back home. But the home we're going to transition to is not going to look like the one we have here. We have to create that space, and however little we try to create what we have here back home, transposing what we have back home, it's important that at least we try. Let us go to our graves knowing that we tried, and not spending our time complaining. It is but by far one of the most disappointing things, plagues that we Liberians have. We complain more than we sacrifice, and we need to begin to sacrifice more. And by sacrificing more is by saying, putting our anxieties, our personal hiccups about issues aside, and looking at the bigger picture and focusing on those. And so I like to laud the government of Liberia for the initiative, her partners for supporting the process. I'm hoping and praying that we can leverage what has happened and do bigger things for Liberia as a result.
Thank you.
So I'm happy.
So
Thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
we just give the. I thank you so much, Dr. George. So we give the opportunity to Reverend Dr. Lloyd to just answer the, give his own closing as to what you think someone should take away from this existing, just assessing the whole conference, because I know we're going to be here next week, Sunday, 4:30 or 4:45, to provide some recommendation from this existing pillars we set, and then come up with some action item. Maybe we can engage other organization to participate in it, because like if you don't put your house in order, someone else will come here and put it in order. And I think the Boakai administration is ready to do that. So the floor is yours, Dr. Lloyd.
Yeah, in closing, I just want to thank the Liberian View for this forum and keeping the discussion uh, moving. Also, thanks to the Boycott administration for this initiative, for moving forward with this diaspora uh, plan and engagement plan that has been developed. And but also, I just want to say to those who could not attend, who did not attend, develop a positive outlook towards the whole initiative. Uh, Begin to contemplate on how you can be a part in the future. And so when there's the conference, if it's held next year, see how you can be able to find a way to be a part of it, and then engage your local organizations, and the various social systems that you have, or support systems that you have where you are, to be able to engage the diaspora leadership, to be able to have more engagement. Also want to encourage EULA to engage the Liberian government in a positive way, to see how EULA, which is an umbrella organization, can play a more major role in the organizing of the conference. So, usually as a clergyman, as the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. And we should not just be reactive, but I would say we need to be proactive in our actions. Let us be positive in our interactions, and let us have a positive outlook and perspective about our country, and about the things and initiatives that come forth from our government. Engage them with constructive criticisms, uh, suggestions that will trigger improvement. And so this culture of criticism and no action, I think it's a time that we halt that, because it has not been beneficial to our future and our country as a whole. If Liberia prospers, we all prosper. In Liberia, the condition on the grounds are very conducive. Um, we also enjoyed it when we go and visit home, and we've been encouraged to visit more, and encouraged to take our friends along with us and be proud of our nation. So what happens on the ground, we also will have a ripple effect of what happened. So it's important that we all come together, whether you did not attend the conference, whether you have um, adverse views on the conference, how it was held, how it was planned, and so forth, and you do not act and you just criticize, then your contribution is not futile, and the contribution will not bear any fruit. So therefore, they urge everybody to come together, engage, give your suggestion whatever way is possible for improvement, and then we will be on direct trajectory as we move forward. So I have optimism for the future, and I pray that those who hold the gavel of authority will exercise courage, transparency, justice, and wisdom in order to ensure that we have a prosperous Liberia. And I will end on that note.
Okay, you just want to say thank you so much. And again, this is the Liberian View. Today, we're assessing our focus, we're assessing the conference, the 2025 conference, Liberian Diaspora Annual Conference. Good initial initiative by the government by the Boakai government, and we really want to say thank you, because also we know that some of you usually ask some questions. You text me on my phone, but we are hoping that you send us more questions, because today is assessing the conference, evaluating the effectiveness of the conference, of recent conference, and addressing the reconciliation, the investment, health, and the educational aspect of it. Next week, Sunday at 4:45, we'll be discussing, coming up with future recommendation. We'll provide our advice and recommendation for which the next diaspora conference, we're assuming, if the government is receptive, to see how best we can organize it and better, because the first was the initial. We're hoping that the next will be better. We can build on it together. And like all the speakers stated, don't say for someone to come and build your house. You need to be part of the building. If not, you'll be left behind. And then the final series will be collective action. We discuss how to mobilize the diaspora's collective power and pool of resources so that we can partake and take control of anything that is coming toward the diaspora, because that's our individual responsibility. We need to build Liberia, like our friend and brother, Dr. George stated. not staying here forever. We will have to one day go home, either to visit or to stay. So we ask you to send your questions, and want to say thank you for all our viewers, all your questions during the discussion. And we'll say thank you so much, Dr. George. It's a pleasure really, really having you. On behalf of the Liberian View, we'll say good night. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Okay, this is it. Let me. Yes, okay. So what